None of us would be here if our ancestors had not known what to eat and what not to eat, what animals to pursue, which animals to run away from. But now, most of us don't have to work in the world of nature. We just go to the grocery store. But the parts of our brain which evolved to discriminate in the world of nature, we now use for consumption. Which automobile to buy, which sneakers to buy. We use that part of the mind-brain to navigate the world of consumption. There might be a ninth intelligence, which I call the existential intelligence. It's the intelligence of big questions. What's going to happen to us? Does God love me? What is love? What is God? I think this is a useful concept, but I'm not certain, because I would like to know whether there are parts of the brain which evolved to deal with questions which are too big or too little to perceive, these questions of existence. So now I say we have probably 8.5 intelligences. After over 25 years, I can reduce the claims of multiple intelligence theory to a very small number. 2 scientific claims and 2 educational claims. The first scientific claim is every human being has all of these intelligences. It's a definition of Homo sapiens, cognitively speaking. But the second scientific claim is that no 2 people have exactly the same profile. And that second scientific claim leads to 2 educational claims, both of which go against the practice of many, many years. The first one says we should individualize education as much as possible. And that means teach each person in the way that they learn the best and assess them, test them in ways where they can show what they have understood. Throughout educational history, we have done the opposite. We taught in only one way, we tested in only one way, and if you didn't do well, you were stupid. This is the first time in human history that we can individualize education more broadly through computers. Because computers can present lessons in many ways. Computers are very patient. They don't get frustrated. And if one way doesn't work, they can use another way. So individualization is becoming a reality in our time. The second educational claim is we should teach everything that's important in lots of different ways. Again, this is a very revolutionary idea. We should teach things through language, through logic, through works of art, through debate, through humor. We should teach things in many different ways. And if you do, 2 wonderful things happen. First, you reach more students, because some learn better from stories, some learn better from mathematical equations, some learn better from works of art, some learn better from hands-on, where they construct things themselves. Second of all, if you teach in multiple ways, you show what it's like to really understand something. Because anything that you understand well, yourself, your family, your neighborhood, your job, your hobby, You can think about it in many ways. You can joke about it, you can make caricatures, you can dramatize it, you can convert it into a dialogue, you can make a chart. And so the pluralization of education not only reaches more people, but in terms of the brain, it activates more neural networks. And the more neural networks that are activated, the more your understanding is. So, from this theory, which is a psychological theory, a theory of how the mind is organized, some educational claims have emerged over the last 25 years. I want now to talk about the kinds of minds that we need in the future. So, globalization. Imagine with me megacities like Sao Paulo or Mexico City, where millions and millions of people have to live together, work, find ways of dealing with one another, even if they are of very different backgrounds. Think about brands which travel around the world, fast food chains, movies, automobiles, clothing. So these are all examples of globalization, the movement of money, customs, and populations. The second feature is the biological revolution. Every month we're learning more about the brain. Every month we're learning more about genetics. And that information is going to affect education in very powerful ways. In your lifetime, students will come to school with a picture of their brain, a functional MRI, and a gene chip with their own unique genome, and they will say to teachers, "Teach me in a way that I can learn." And if the teachers cannot make sense of the brain image or the gene chip, then education will become a medical specialty because, of course, doctors and scientists are trained to read about the brain and to read about genetics. And already, and this is something I study, we can tell very early in life if a child is going to have reading problems, if the child is at risk for dyslexia, and we're beginning to know what kind of treatment will work for what kind of language problem. And the same thing will happen with each of the intelligences. So the biological revolution will have enormous impact in education, though only in the most specialized settings is it evident at the present time. The third revolution is the digital revolution. Computers, the World Wide Web, the internet, all of these things are already beginning to have impact in education. And it's a situation, very unusual, where young people are much more sophisticated than older people. We distinguish between digital immigrants, which are most of you, and your children who are digital natives, and I'm a digital paleolith, but I'm trying to study and understand the new digital media because those are also huge changes that are occurring in our society. One other one I will mention is lifelong learning. In my grandparents' generation, most people didn't have even a secondary school education. In my parents' generation, most people didn't have to learn once they finished secondary school or the university. Now, of course, education everywhere has to be lifelong. And so not only do we need to know how we can continue to learn, but thank goodness we now know the brain is able to acquire new information for many, many years after adolescence. So now